All right, welcome back to the last video in the series before we meet together. I hope that you've had an opportunity to use your foundations for good relations. I hope that you've also, if you did encounter a problem, that recognized how that problem came to you. If you remember in the previous video, we talked about problems come to us. Sometimes we run into them, or we get tipped off, or we size them up, and so on. And so if you did come into a problem, I hope you just took a second to think about how did that one come about. So today what we're going to do is we're going to get into a little bit more practical stuff again. We're going to look at a case study, and I'm going to read you a story about a problem that a leader had, and we're just going to walk through it a little bit and start to see how we can determine what the next step is, at least some of the first steps. And here again, we're going to get introduced to this card, the other side of it now. We're going to start working through that card a little bit, just as a guide for you. So I'm going to read a problem, and this is what I'd like you to do. If you have a pen and paper handy, I'd like you to grab that. And as I read the story, jot down any relevant facts that you hear through this story, just anything that is important, you feel is an important point in the story that we should know, and just keep track of that. We'll discuss that after I read the story. So if you're ready, here we go. So this is the story of Fran. Fran was a worker in a company. So Fran has been working at this company for nearly 2 years. When she started, she was young and single, and often missed days or was late. She had been talked to and warned on a couple of occasions about this behavior. She seemed unconcerned about money, as she lived at home with little expenses. She was a great worker when she was there, and good friends with the manager's daughter. 6 months ago, 6 months ago, she got married, and suddenly she was very punctual and never missed a shift. This pleased the supervisor, Tom, very much, as the department was very busy and had tough deadlines to meet. Yesterday was a performance review in which the entire department got a decent raise and a cash bonus for their great efforts. Today, Tom realized Fran did not show up for work. Tom was immediately upset and said he put a little extra money in her hands, and she slipped right back to her old ways. The next day, he met Fran at the door and gave her a week's suspension for not showing up to work. And I'm going to stop there. So, first of all, I hope you're taking a few notes. That went kind of quick, but what are some of the really relevant pieces of this story that we should know? So I'm going to give you my list, and then we'll discuss from there. So what are the facts in this scenario? So first of all, she worked there for nearly 2 years. She missed a lot of work at the beginning, at least for the first 18 months. Money didn't seem very important. She was a great worker when she was there. Got married 6 months ago and had perfect attendance since. The department was very busy. Received a bonus and a raise. Missed work the very next day. And Tom assumed she missed because of old habits. So now she got suspended for missing work again because she had extra money in her hand, and that's what the supervisor assumed. How do you feel the supervisor did? What did he do right? What did he do wrong in this case? Well, first of all, I believe that there's a few problems with this story. And I'm going to introduce you to the card, okay? And we're going to work through the first section, how to handle a problem. So first of all, get the facts. We're gonna focus on that one, just that one today, just to get an idea what we should be doing before we make decisions. This is the first part of it. So get the facts. So the first one says review the record. Now what does that mean? Well, let's review her record. Let's review the person. What has her work history been, or what has her volunteer history been? You know, just things like that. We got a question. So we know that her record is this. She worked there for almost 2 years. She had a lot of missed days and lates, and had been warned. In the last 6 months, though, perfect attendance. And I think that's about everything. So that's kind of the record. Okay, so some good and positive and negative in that record. And the second one says what policy, rules, and regulations apply. So it says that she had been warned about her lates and missed days and stuff like that in the past. So there's some kind of disciplinary system in place. So that would apply, right? There's a disciplinary system in place. And it seems also there seems to be a bonus system in place for good work. So that's what that means. Just what kind of policies apply in that particular workplace or volunteer position or whatever it is. Talk with the individuals concerned. That's the next question, or the next point. Did the supervisor or did the leader talk to Fran? And it doesn't appear that he did. Doesn't say that in the story anyway. Get opinions and feelings. Well, we got Tom's opinion on this for sure. He immediately assumed that she was missing work because of the extra money she received. And but again, never talked to Fran herself. So the opinions and feelings, her opinion and feelings we don't know. And people's opinions and feelings are very valid when you're considering what to do. That's a very important piece. And the last point, it says, be sure you have the whole story. So do we have the whole story here? And just by going through that list, we can clearly see we don't, because nobody talked to Fran. Nobody even asked her why she missed, right? So as a supervisor or as a leader, that's a pretty critical step. If we don't even take the time to ask and talk this through, we're doing ourselves and that person a great injustice, and that's not fair. So I want to do is I want to read the rest of the story now, and then we'll keep discussing. So gave her a week's suspension for not showing up for work. Fran immediately went to the manager and tried to figure out what happened. She explained to him that her father had had a heart attack late that night and she was at the hospital. She had contacted one of her co-workers in the department to please tell Tom what had happened, as she didn't have Tom's personal number to contact him directly. The manager confirmed this with the co-worker, who was very apologetic about forgetting to tell Tom. Fran had assumed all was well when she came to work the next morning and got blindsided by Tom and not being given a chance to explain. And her suspension was lifted immediately. So we see the outcome would have been very much different if we would have just taken 5 seconds to talk, to ask, to get the story and get the whole story, right? So here, again, this card, these are some of the points that you need to have when you're starting to determine what your next action will be, what your action will be for the problem. And we're going to get into actions when we meet together. We'll start doing the second, third, and fourth points when we meet together live. But just something to start thinking about. Get the facts. Make sure you have the whole story. That is so important. And again, relation. If we're not talking with our people, if we can't even approach a person and sit down with them and ask what happened, despite what we feel happened, we have to set that aside. We need to get the real story. So I'm looking forward to meeting with you guys, and what I'm going to be asking of you guys when we meet is start thinking now of a situation or two where you had a problem with a person. And we're going to be sharing these stories. However, we're going to be sharing them anonymously. What I mean by that is I don't want you to use names, and I want you to use something that's reasonably current, that you can remember the facts, but hopefully you can think of something that we won't guess who it is either. So maybe something that happened outside of your particular department or whatever, but something that we wouldn't be able to guess. So anyway, we'll talk about that more when we get together. Take care. God bless. Have a good day.